Greetings, YouTube. Alan back, and I'm here with another tier list. And with the national season right around the corner, I just wanted to give my tier list for what I expect, basically the entire national season to look like. This probably will be my only tier list for the national season. Things may change as we see more results from different nationals, but this is going to be basically my predictions for going into the season. So yeah, before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe. Upcoming soon, I'm gonna start trying to post some more live gameplay, so not on TTS or Fab Online. I think that it's just nice to have more content creators who put live gameplay and do some editing. So I'll try that for a little bit, and if it's too much work, we'll see. But I'm excited to post those. So yeah, subscribe and stay tuned for those. I'll be playing some characters other than Bravo and Fire. But yeah, so let's just start. S tier. I think there's only one S tier deck this national season, and I think it's Oldhim. Specifically, I think it's like not the fatigue super control Oldhim, like Six Oasis, Brothers in Arms, things like that. I think a deck that resembles more of the battle hardened Columbus Oldhim. I believe that's Michael Hamilton's deck, but don't quote me on that. Is just so powerful. I don't think it has any like really bad matchups, and even if it does, those decks kind of sacrifice too much in order to beat Oldhim and don't play as well into the rest of the field. So I think Oldhim is just straight up the best deck by far. I think that you likely will still have to prepare for control Oldhims because people will just play control Oldhim, even though I think like more aggressive mid-rangey Oldhim is better. But yeah, Oldhim S tier. Moving on to A tier, I'm gonna throw Bravo in there. So how I feel about Bravo is that now that Prism is gone, Bravo obviously gains a lot of points, right? But my issue with Bravo is that he just feels like a worse Oldhim in almost every matchup. Bravo may have some points into like Dromai and Dash, but I think Oldhim can still do fine in those matchups, and I also think Oldhim is slightly favored versus Bravo. I say slightly because I do think the matchup is still pretty close, and there's a lot of skill involved. But I think like two equally skilled players at the highest level, Oldhim probably at least hits like 55, maybe even 60 against Bravo. But I do think Bravo is still a good choice. He's solid into the whole field, basically. And if you're just a diehard Bravo fan, then you would play him over Oldhim. Moving on to Briar. I think Briar still has legs. I don't think Briar is necessarily favored versus Oldhim, but Briar is still very strong versus basically everything else. And Briar can still be Oldhim, I would say. It's not easy, but I think Briar is probably the best deck if you wanted to play like an aggressive aggro deck. Moving on to Dash. I'm hovering between B and A, honestly, but I think maybe the bottom of A, I would put Dash. I think that you can beat Oldhims with your hard control pistol plan. The question is, how do you balance your pistol plan versus your plan into other aggressive decks? Like, for example, if you take Jason's list from the Calling Singapore, I don't think, or we saw Dash play second at the Battle Hardened Columbus, and that Dash was running 3 Sync, 3 Unmovable Red, and 2 Induction, 3 Plasma Purifier. So basically the pistol plan. But that wasn't quite enough to overcome Oldhim. So I think if you want to beat Oldhims and Bravos consistently as Dash, you need maybe even more defense reacts or just more control tools. But that means you lose points into your aggro matchups. So I think Dash is... I don't know if she'll get there, but I think she has a shot. Let's just move alphabetical from there. Let's go to... Is this alphabetical? I think so. Dorinthea. Dorinthea, I'll just put in B tier. Dorinthea definitely has a harder time into the Guardians, and she still has decent matchups everywhere else for the most part, but the fact that Guardian is going to make up like, 30-40% of this incoming Nationals meta, I don't think Dorinthea necessarily has what it takes. But I may be wrong, so we'll see. Katsu. Honestly, I'll just put Katsu in C tier. I don't think he's very good right now. I think once again he doesn't do great into Guardian, and of like the aggressive decks, he probably has the worst play into Guardian. I don't think he just has that many great matchups in general. So yeah. alarm went off. Anyways, moving on to Kano. I'll also put Kano in C tier. Iyslander has been making waves, and people may or may not tech Oasis into their deck to respect Kano, but people will almost always have Null Rune. So I think Kano loses a lot of legs this format in general. Moving on to Levia. I think Levia is just in C tier also. I don't necessarily think Guardian's a great matchup for Levia, especially if you're on Blood Debt. Eventually the Guardians could probably just block you out and wait until you die and kill yourself because you have an off turn and take like 10 Blood Debt. Yeah, Lexi I also think is C tier. Lexi also struggles into Guardian. I don't think she was great into the aggressive decks, like Briar, Viserai, Fi. And I just, yeah, once again, I don't think she has too many things going for her this format. Yeah, especially with Guardians coming into town. If I wanted to order the C tier a little bit, maybe I would go like this, maybe. I think Lexi probably is a better pick than Katsu because at least you sort of can target stuff, but I feel like Katsu is kind of just like, unfortunately not in a great spot as probably the worst aggro deck right now. But yeah. Rhinar, I'll put Rhinar in B tier just because if people do come with control Oldhims or very defensive Bravo decks, then Rhinar can definitely, you know, intimidate, stack, and beat them. Just a classic like mid-range matchup, swinging club and hammer at each other until Rhinar like hits a 4 barraging or like a blood rush into something like that. I think Rhinar's okay. I don't necessarily think he'll do great. He still struggles into aggressive matchups, and I don't even think Guardians, when played well, is necessarily favored, so I'll put him in B tier. Boltyn I'll put in D tier. Like you have sabers, but there have been a good amount of game. Well, with Oldhim in the meta, Stalagmite also just makes it very hard for Boltyn. You're gonna need to run like epots or epots to do your combo right, and also Blizzard's a thing. Channel Lake Fridge is a thing. Like Boltyn is gonna struggle so hard into Oldhim. So I think while he was pretty bad before, he's even worse now. Moving on to Viserai, I'm actually going to put Viserai in B tier. He doesn't necessarily have a really bad matchup, but I don't think he's favored versus Oldhim. I don't think he's necessarily favored versus Bravo. And just having like approximately 50-50s all around is like okay. But when, you know, the two Guardians that are going to be representing more of the meta are just maybe a little bit favored into you for Bravo, and Oldhim even more favored into you, I don't think Viserai is in a good spot. I think Briar has the advantage of the embodiments of Earth and also being able to play with less cards. Like you can still just snatch for 4, whereas Viserai you need at least like 2 or 3 cards to do something good. I guess Viserai can adapt and sort of run things like Read the Runes or stuff like that. Like they'll tear asunder you. You can block, discard 2, play Read the Runes, and just wait for an off turn. But for the most part, I don't think Viserai will be too great this format. Dromai is my pick. I'm gonna put an A tier. Dromai is my pick for probably the best Guardian counter. I don't necessarily think that she will be better against Guardian than a Pistol Dash, but I think she probably has better legs into the rest of the meta and can still beat Guardian, which is why I'm putting her in A tier. She struggles into Dorinthea because Dorinthea will just like destroy all your dragons and get Dawnblade up to like 9, but there might be a way with like more aggressive Phantasm cards like Spears and Centipais and stuff. But yeah, I think Dromai has the most legs into Guardian as well as the rest of the meta, so I'm gonna put Dromai in A tier. Fi I'm gonna put in B tier, basically along with Viserai. Fi was worst matchup was Bravo, and there's gonna be more Bravo because Prism's gone. And the new Oldhim decks basically play like Bravo, so now you're basically playing your worst matchup probably like 40% of the time going into Nationals. So I think while Fi can beat Oldhim if they're on the control style, if Oldhim's on like the mid-range aggressive style with like, you know, Red Glacial Footsteps, Erase Face, CNC Pummels, then Fi is not going to have a good time at all. Iyslander. So this one is going to be probably my hottest take on this tier list. I think Icelander's in B tier. I don't think originally she had a good matchup in Oldhim because the Oldhims played slowly and she could set up a Frost Hex combo. But now that Oldhim decks are basically becoming more aggressive, sort of like how Bravo decks became more aggressive over time, it just seems like Iyslander can't quite get there, and Heart of Ice is just such a disgusting card for Iyslander. People were high on Iyslander, I felt like, because you could beat Oldhim, but now that Oldhim is adjusted to the matchup. I don't think Iyslander has that much going for her in this meta. I think Oldhim's not a good matchup. Bravo is like an okay matchup. The aggro decks are decent matchups, but they're not anywhere as close as you or as good as you'd want them to be. Dash I don't think is a good matchup because Dash has things like Teklo Core and Teklo Heart to gain resources. And then Dromai, I honestly don't know how that matchup goes, but I assume it's pretty hard because you can't really deal with dragons. So yeah, I don't think Iyslander's in a great spot this format. Or she's in an okay spot, but I don't think she's as good as people expect her to be. I think in pre-Prism Living Legend, she was kind of a sleeper pick if you could dodge the prisms and like play into your best matchups. But now that the meta has sort of like shifted in terms of like how the Guardians play, how the aggro decks play, etc., I don't think Iyslander is going to be that great, honestly. And then Azalea, I'll just put in D tier. I don't play Azalea. I don't know what she's capable of, but based on from what I hear and from what I see, Azalea is not in a great spot either. So especially with Guardian in town, like Rangers struggle to Guardian for the most part, and yeah, with the meta becoming more Guardian slanted, a lot of decks are moving down, but other decks are moving up. Like some aggro decks and some things like Ranger, Dorinthea, Katsu, they're all moving down. But decks like, Dash, Dromai, Iyslander have more legs into this format. So I think that'll be interesting to see. So yeah, there's going to be, I believe, 36 national championships. And one of those is going to be the US championships, which contributes 80 Living Legend points, whereas the rest are 40, I believe. So that's about 1,500 Living Legend points that's coming out this national season. So I definitely think we're going to see at least one hero hit Living Legend this national season. There's also going to be a calling at the US, Battle Hardens, etc. So I think World's format is going to be a lot different. But yeah, this is my expectation for what the meta is going to look like for nationals. I probably will play Oldhim or Bravo. I think Oldhim's the better choice. The only reason I would play Bravo is because I like playing Bravo, and I want to see how I can sort of adjust the deck to be better into Oldhim. Whereas for Oldhim, I just think is just the best deck, and if I wanted to play it, I would play it. So yeah, this is my tier list. Let's see if I want to change anything in the order. I think this is mostly fine. Maybe Dorinthea is a little better than Rhinar. I'm not sure. I would put Dromai actually above Dash. Yeah. Then yeah, this would be my tier list. So let me know what you guys think. Any changes you would make. And yeah, and like as I said, in the upcoming days, I'm going to be posting some physical card gameplay. I'll probably be editing those with some card images, and look forward to that. So I'll see you around.